Guys, seriously. Like, what if everything we thought we knew was a lie? Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the very foundation of your understanding of the world is built on a falsehood. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? And I'm not talking about, like, your friend's fake eyelashes or whatever. No, this goes way deeper than that. This is about something that has been a constant presence in our lives, something we have taken for granted. I'm talking about the moon. Yes, that big glowing orb in the sky that we've all been staring at since we were kids. It's been a source of wonder, inspiration, and even romance. But what if I told you it's not what it seems? That big glowing orb in the sky that we've all been staring at since we were kids. We've written songs about it, composed poems, and even planned our lives around its phases. But what if all of that was based on a lie? What if I told you it's not what it seems? There's this whole theory going around that the moon is actually a hologram. I know, right? Sounds crazy. But hear me out, there's this whole theory going around that the moon is actually a hologram. I know, right? Sounds crazy. But hear me out, there are all these weird things about the moon that just don't add up. I know, right? Sounds crazy. But hear me out, there are all these weird things about the moon that just don't add up. And independent researchers and full-on conspiracy theorists have been digging up some seriously creepy evidence. There are all these weird things about the moon that just don't add up. And independent researchers and full-on conspiracy theorists have been digging up some seriously creepy evidence. We're talking strange visual glitches, impossible physics, and NASA photos that look like they were edited by someone's little brother on Microsoft Paint. And independent researchers and full-on conspiracy theorists have been digging up some seriously creepy evidence. We're talking strange visual glitches, impossible physics, and NASA photos that look like they were edited by someone's little brother on Microsoft Paint. It's almost as if the moon is a giant cosmic illusion. We're talking strange visual glitches, impossible physics, and NASA photos that look like they were edited by someone's little brother on Microsoft Paint. I'm freaking out a little, not gonna lie. And NASA photos that look like they were edited by someone's little brother on Microsoft Paint. I'm freaking out a little, not gonna lie. So buckle up, guys, because we're about to dive deep into the possibility that the moon is just a giant cosmic illusion. I'm freaking out a little, not gonna lie. So buckle up, guys, because we're about to dive deep into the possibility that the moon is just a giant cosmic illusion. We're going to explore the evidence, the theories, and the implications of this mind-bending idea. So buckle up, guys, because we're about to dive deep into the possibility that the moon is just a giant cosmic illusion. We're going to explore the evidence, the theories, and the implications of this mind-bending idea. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew about our closest celestial neighbor. Okay, so you know how in old school video games, sometimes the background would get all glitchy and you'd see those weird lines running across the screen? Like a wave? Well, people are saying they're seeing the same thing happening with the moon. And I'm not talking about some blurry footage from the 60s either. There are videos popping up online all the time showing the moon with this weird rippling effect. It's like someone hit the refresh button on the hologram and it's seriously freaking people out. I'm talking clear high-definition footage, and you can see this wave, this distortion passing over the surface of the moon. It's like, how do you explain that? If the moon is just a solid rocky body, then what is causing this visual glitch? It's like something out of the Matrix, and it has people wondering if someone is messing with the code of our reality. Okay, so this next one really blew my mind. There's this experiment where they measured the temperature of objects placed in moonlight and compared them to objects in the shade. And guess what? The objects in the moonlight were actually colder. I know, right? It makes no sense. Moonlight is supposed to be reflected sunlight, so it should be warming things up, not cooling them down. This is where things get really weird. Some people think this is proof that the moon isn't reflecting sunlight at all, but is actually emitting its own artificial light source. And if that's true, then what is that light source, and why is it making things colder? It's like the moon is a giant cosmic freezer or something. It just doesn't add up, and it's making me question everything I thought I knew about physics. Chapter 3. Why do we always see the same side of the moon? Okay, so this one is a classic. We all know that the moon always shows us the same face. Scientists say it's because of something called tidal locking, which basically means the moon's rotation is synchronized with its orbit around Earth. But what if that's just another lie? Think about it. If the moon is actually a holographic projection, it would make sense that they would only need to create one side of it. It's like a giant movie screen, and we're only ever seeing the image that's being projected onto it. And if that's true, then what's on the other side of the moon? Is it just a blank black void? Or is there something else there that they don't want us to see? Chapter 4. NASA's Suspicious Moon Images. Let's talk about NASA for a second, shall we? This organization has been at the forefront of space exploration for decades, sending astronauts to the moon, launching satellites, and even planning missions to Mars. But despite all their achievements, there are some things that just don't add up. Those guys are supposed to be the experts on all things space, but some of the pictures they've released of the moon are seriously sketchy. We're talking about images that have been scrutinized by experts and amateurs alike, and the inconsistencies are hard to ignore. I'm talking about photos with weird shadows that don't make sense. Shadows that seem to go in different directions, which shouldn't happen if the sun is the only light source. It's almost as if there were multiple light sources, which raises a lot of questions. Then there are objects that appear and disappear in different shots. One moment there's a rock in a specific spot, and in the next image, it's gone or has moved. How does that happen on a place like the moon, where there's no wind or other natural forces to move things around? And let's not forget the stars that are visible through the moon's surface. This is perhaps the most baffling of all. In some images you can clearly see stars shining through what should be a solid, opaque object. Like, how is that even possible? The moon is supposed to be a solid body, right? So how are we seeing stars through it? This defies all logic and understanding of how celestial bodies work. The moon is supposed to be opaque, right? It's a solid mass of rock and dust. So, seeing stars through it is not just unusual, it's downright impossible according to our current understanding of physics. So how are we seeing stars through it? It's almost like someone forgot to add that part of the hologram, or like there was a glitch in the Matrix or something. These anomalies make you wonder if what we're seeing is real, or some kind of elaborate illusion. It's almost like someone forgot to add that part of the hologram, or like there was a glitch in the Matrix or something. These kinds of errors are what you would expect from a poorly rendered video game, not from real-life space exploration. Or like there was a glitch in the Matrix or something. And these aren't just minor glitches, they are glaring inconsistencies that make you question the authenticity of the images. And don't even get me started on the whole missing footage from the moon landing. I mean, come on! How do you lose such important historical records? It's almost as if they don't want us to see something, they want us to believe that we went to the moon, but they can't even produce all the tapes. This is one of the most significant events in human history, and yet, crucial evidence is missing. It just doesn't add up. But they can't even produce all the tapes? It's like they're hiding something, and it's making me suspicious. What could be so damaging or revealing that they would go to such lengths to keep it hidden? It's like they're hiding something, and it's making me suspicious. The more you dig into these anomalies, the more questions arise. Are we being told the whole truth, or is there something more sinister at play? And it's making me suspicious. With so many inconsistencies and unanswered questions, it's hard not to wonder if there's more to the story than what we've been told. What are they hiding and why? Chapter 5. Did humans ever really land on the moon? Okay, so this is the big one. The mother of all moon conspiracies, did we really land on the moon in 1969? This question has sparked countless debates, documentaries, and even movies. It's a topic that has fascinated and divided people for decades. Or was it all just one giant hoax? Could it be that the greatest achievement in human history was nothing more than an elaborate ruse? Some people believe that the entire event was staged by NASA and the US government to win the space race against the Soviet Union. I know what you're thinking. Shane, don't go there. But hear me out. The skepticism isn't just from a fringe group of conspiracy theorists. Even some scientists and engineers have raised questions about the feasibility of the moon landing given the technology of the time, but I have to. The evidence is just too compelling to ignore. There are so many anomalies and inconsistencies that make you wonder. For instance, why haven't we been back to the moon in over 50 years? With all the advancements in technology, it should be easier now than ever before. Think about it. The technology back then was nowhere near as advanced as it is today. The computers used for the Apollo missions had less processing power than a modern-day calculator. It's hard to believe that such primitive technology could achieve such a monumental feat. So, how did we manage to send a man to the moon and back using computers that were less powerful than your smartphone? It's a question that has puzzled many. The sheer complexity of the mission, from navigation to life support, seems almost insurmountable with the technology of the 1960s. It just doesn't add up. And then there are the photographs and videos from the moon landing. Many people have pointed out strange anomalies in these images that suggest they were staged. For example, The lighting and shadows in some of the photos don't seem to match up with the position of the sun. And then there are all the inconsistencies in the official story, the waving flag in a vacuum, which should be impossible since there's no air on the moon to cause it to move. Some say it was just the result of the astronauts twisting the flagpole, but others aren't so sure. The lack of a blast crater under the lunar module, which you would expect to see after a rocket-powered descent. The surface of the moon is covered in fine dust, yet there's no sign of disturbance beneath the lander. The parallel shadows that suggest artificial lighting. In many of the photos, the shadows cast by objects on the moon's surface appear to be parallel, which would be consistent with a single light source, like a studio light, rather than the sun. It's like they filmed the whole thing on a soundstage somewhere, and they didn't even do a very good job of it. Some theorists even claim that famed director Stanley Kubrick was involved in faking the moon landing, using the same techniques he employed in his film 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm not saying I know for sure that the moon landing was faked, but I am saying that there are a lot of unanswered questions. Questions that deserve serious consideration and investigation. After all, if we can't trust one of the most significant events in human history, what can we trust? But I am saying that there are a lot of unanswered questions. Why haven't we returned to the moon with modern technology? Why do some of the original moon landing tapes appear to be missing or damaged? These are questions that continue to fuel the debate, and until we get some real answers, I'm going to remain skeptical. It's not about being a conspiracy theorist, it's about seeking the truth. The moon landing is a pivotal moment in history, and we owe it to ourselves to ensure that the story we've been told is the real one. Outro, are we living in a massive deception? So, there you have it. The evidence is out there, guys. The moon might not be what we think it is. It could be a hologram, a projection, a giant cosmic illusion. And if that's true, then what else are they hiding from us? It's time to start questioning everything, to open our minds to the possibility that we've been lied to our entire lives. The truth is out there, somewhere, just waiting to be uncovered. For more shocking theories and hidden truths, be sure to watch our videos and subscribe to the Secret Organization YouTube channel. We're exposing the lies, one conspiracy at a time. Stay woke, my friends.